All right, I'll go. Oops. I'll go. This is Bill Fitzgerald. I'm the Vice President of Channel and Healthcare Systems for Convatec. To give you a little bit of background on that, Convatec is a medical device manufacturer. We compete directly with Allison in her world of advanced wound care in that side. So Allison and I'll try to not share any competitive secrets on this call. But we manufacture advanced wound care products and ostomy products, as well as critical care products that are used for patients that are either in the acute setting, post-operative setting, or a chronic wound setting from that side. I've been with Convatec for 2 years. Prior to that, I was with Cardinal Health on the pharmacy distribution side of the business in a number of different roles for 25 years before that. I am a graduate of University of Tennessee, but through different times of career, lived in different areas of Nashville, St. Louis, Denver, but have been fortunate enough to reside in Knoxville for the past 27 years. And I am a graduate of the University of Tennessee. So excited to be here.
Awesome, go Vols. Okay, Allison, would you like to answer as well? I'll just go down the phone and call you guys' names.
Sure, I'll go next. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Keith, and I am from Smith & Nephew. I've been with the organization for just about 5 years now. My role is I'm the Director of Emerging Talent, so I help to recruit and retain our early talent between 0 and 3 years. So I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and right now I'm at an airport. I just finished a career fair at Howard University, so I apologize now for the noise in the background. Smith & Nephew is an advanced medical device company, and as Bill said, we do have a wound care franchise, as well as sports med and orthopedics. My background, a little bit about me and why I love working with emerging talent. I have a master's degree in education, and I've always worked either on a college campus or near a college campus. And so ask me any question. I'm really transparent and really appreciate your time and look forward to helping you out. So thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Allison. Lauren.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Lauren Butler, and I'm with DeRoyal, and we are a global medical device manufacturer based here in the Knoxville area. And I've been with DeRoyal my whole professional career. I'm a University of Tennessee alumni, and DeRoyal hired me as an intern my very last semester, and I've now been here as of April. It'll be 23 years. So we manufacture between 25 to 30,000 different types of medical devices, ranging anything from orthopedics to acute care, different types of wound dressings, bandages, gauze, negative pressure wound therapy, just a lot of different disposables for an acute care setting or cath lab, angio, those types of devices. And we are a local privately held company, and next year we'll be celebrating 50 years. And we have a wide variety of career opportunities here at DeRoyal. So I'm glad to be a part of this today.
Thank you, Lauren. TJ.
Thanks so much, Courtney, and I'm glad to be a panelist with the rest of the esteemed guests on here. TJ Jones, I'm out of Chicago, but originally from Michigan. Work for Boston Scientific, global healthcare company. The thing I'm most excited about is being in the medical device space. It changed my life. After college football at Northwestern, I got started in something other than sports, working for J&J, transitioned over to an aesthetic company, then with Stryker for about 10 years, and then now with Boston Scientific for about 3. That said, healthcare is about helping people. It's about leadership. It's about demonstrating how you can learn and respond to the diverse and complex situations. But again, it's about helping people. How can we help doctors help people? Outside of running a sales team across the Midwest for the neuromodulation division, which is centered on chronic pain, I'm also passionate about the Boost program at Boston Scientific, which is something that has led to more than 30 people getting hired in 2021 and then more than 70 people getting hired into healthcare careers. And that's centered around Black professionals, getting them more exposure and access to understanding this space. Thanks so much.
Thank you, TJ. And Melissa.
Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for having me today. So I'm Melissa Heitinen and I'm with Arthrex. And sorry about the blinking screen, not really sure why it's doing that. So I've been with Arthrex for going on 6 years now, and we're based here in Florida. And we make medical devices, as everybody also said that they had done so. And prior to Arthrex, I was at a company for almost 23 years, also in the medical device field. And so as I think I might have a little bit different role than some of the other panelists as a master scheduler. So I'm more in the manufacturing environment and more involved in the actual planning of the devices and the master data for how those parts actually get produced. And so again, happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Melissa. So the next question I have for you all, in your own words, what is medical sales? And maybe kind of describe, if you want to, your particular role. And then also maybe a general like entry-level role for someone who is interested in medical sales. And Bill, if you want to start, you're first on my screen, so I'll let you start.
Sure. Again, Bill Fitzgerald with Convitec. So in the group that I have responsibility for, the channel and healthcare system side, the channel part of that refers to our contracting and agreements that we have with with GPOs, distributors, the federal government, and the like. The healthcare system side of that is with the large hospital systems across the country, the strategic ones. But what we also built out last year, really we're now at about the 1-year anniversary with that, is an entry-level pathway into medical device sales. And we built out an inside sales organization. What we found during COVID is that wound care nurses, ostomy nurses in particular, and ICU nurses were much more susceptible to opening up the door to us to communicate virtually versus a on-site visit, just because of the restrictions that were going on with COVID. As a result of kind of some success in that area, we decided let's expand into an entry-level role that's an inside sales associate role, because traditionally when we hire salespeople within our organization, it's people that have had 5 to 7 years of medical device sales experience. So we really didn't have an entry-level role. We are now at the 1-year anniversary. We have 23 inside sales associates. And the role of that is number one, they are selling and connecting with wound care nurses and ostomy nurses and critical care nurses, but they're also building a pathway to be promoted into a territory manager out in the field. We've had our first, 3 promotions this past month of individuals that have spent about 12 to 14 months in the inside associates role. And now they're being promoted out into a field sales territory role. The nice thing with the inside sales associate role, we really only ask that you live in the region of the country that covers. So we're able to place people, whether they live in the Southeast, they can work from their home anywhere in the Southeast. And then if they want to have that opportunity for promotion, if they want to go somewhere else, that opens up a lot more opportunities for promotion as well, because if they're willing to relocate for those roles. But the 3 people that we have promoted recently all were within the geographic region that they were already placed in. So that's kind of the little bit of the pathway of my team and the experience of my team of what we does and what it looks like from an entry-level opportunity.
Lauren, in your own words, what is medical sales, and maybe talk about the entry-level positions at DeRoyal.
Sure. At DeRoyal, we've actually been doing a program very similar to this for probably 25 years now, and we're still doing. We have what we call a sales resident program, where we take recent college graduates, we recruit them from all over the country and bring them to our corporate office here in the Knoxville area. And basically, we teach them how to become medical device sales professionals. And it's between 18 to 24-month program. They go to all areas and aspects of DeRoyal. We actually have people in the program right now that they are doing phase 1 training with actual area managers out there that were hired directly into a territory. So they're going through the exact same training. They actually go into manufacturing. They work on marketing projects. They do a lot of product presentations. Some of them are actually out in the field right now doing product installs with some of our reps when we have a transition and a conversion of some kind. So they go out into the field. If we have a rep that's out on leave for whatever reason, they go and help assist in that territory while they are out. So really just kind of getting a full spectrum. They also do inside sales as well. We have some setup accounts that the sales team don't necessarily, it's not lucrative enough that they may, spend a whole lot of time on. So the inside sales team, they have certain goals to achieve and MBOs that are set for them, and they are rewarded accordingly. And then as sales territories come open, they do interview for those opportunities. And that is the caveat, is to promote and transition to a sales territory out into the field. And they've gone anywhere and everywhere from Arizona to Texas to Arkansas to St. Louis to you name it, Baltimore, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, I mean, anywhere and everywhere in between. So we've been doing this program for a number of years now, and it's been very successful for us. Usually a resident wins Rookie of the Year and then becomes a President's Club winner for our organization. They truly get a good capture of what we do here.
Thanks, Lauren. Melissa, you are next on my screen.
So I actually shut off my camera so that it would stop driving everybody bonkers. So from the sales side, what sales means to me, I guess I can answer from the scheduling aspect. And for us, that's revolves around making sure that our orders get completed so that they meet our customers' demands, and actually make it so that the customer has the product in hand when the surgeon goes to do the operation, so that they have our product available for use. I do know that as far as our sales side itself goes, we actually have outside sales reps who eventually, after working with the contracted company for a certain number of years, will often have inside sales managers and director positions who then organize those sales reps to go out and sell our product.
Thank you, Melissa. Alice, you want to jump in on this question?
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you. Yeah. So we have a brand new rotational program. It's called the Commercial Leadership Rotational Program that we are rolling out this June. And it's a 2.5-year program, approximately. The goal is to have you go into one of our territories at the end and be a medical sales rep. We have it for our 3 different divisions: orthopedics, sports med, and wound care management. And we will have you start with 6 months in either upstream marketing or downstream marketing, and then switch to the other one. And then you have the opportunity to spend 6 months in either commercial ops or med ed. That's more like an elective. And then at the end of that, you'll be mentored for up to 1 year by one of our sales leaders, so that you can learn sales and the way that you'll be mentored to the way that we do sales at Smith & Nephew. And then at the end of 6 months, or up to 12 months, you will then be moved into your own territory. So it's really about a 2.5-year program. Along with the mentoring that you'll get, we'll also provide some professional development opportunities as well. And there's going to be a cohort of 9 people that are going to be joining us this June. We also have manufacturing roles as well, and we have leadership development positions there. And again, you rotate through the different areas of manufacturing because we do it all. We do R&D, we do our own designing, we do our own producing and manufacturing right in Memphis, Tennessee. That's where we do our needs. And then we also do sales. So there's that opportunity as well. So that's a little bit about our program.
Thank you, Allison and TJ. So just to remind you of the question, what is medical sales in your own words, and maybe talk about the entry-level positions at Boston Scientific.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for repeating that question, because initially I was mesmerized by Lauren's story. Initially, I'm like, man, that sounds like my journey of traveling. I mean, a lot of those places she said I've lived and worked in. In terms of the entry-level opportunities at Boston Scientific, they're vast, from engineering to finance to marketing to sales. Specifically, as a sales leader, I'm looking for people that have demonstrated an ability to learn and they work well with others. What I mean by that, people that are used to working on teams and know how to get the best out of themselves while holding others to a high standard. When we think about some of these procedures, if it's not a standard of care, and what I mean by that, it's not a procedure that a doctor is offering routinely, then that means that it's a newer concept or product. So we need individuals to be able to go into that hospital, that surgery center, that private practice, create new processes, and then from there, help that become a standard of care. So the excitement and the passion that I have for it, I've seen the medical device industry not only change patients' lives, it's changed my life. From that standpoint, I've been able to hire people that went from under six figures to $300,000-$400,000 a year in a quick period. That's what sales has been for me, and that's what it means for me. It's an opportunity for us to really give back to the many communities that we serve. And there are a variety of different positions at Boston Scientific that will maximize your unique skill sets. I also put my information in chat. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, call, text. Happy to be an ambassador for the brand, as well as an advocate for you guys on the call.
Thank you, TJ. And I'm going to pause here just in case the audience has any questions. Again, feel free to put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I will call on you and you can unmute and ask your question. So just pausing here before I move on to another question.
My name is Riley. I was gonna just wait to ask my question or two at the end to see if it got answered, if that's okay.
Yes, that's fine. All right. So going in with my next question, and some of the audience may also want to know about this. How has your organization been affected by the pandemic, and how has it influenced the industry? So if there is like an uptick in like growth because of the pandemic or a decline within that, how has your office culture been? Are you guys in person, virtual, hybrid? As far as like hiring process, how does that look? Is that affected by the pandemic? And Melissa, you're first on my screen, so I'll let you go first with that question.
I'm sorry, Courtney, did you say Allison?
Melissa.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry.
That's okay. I wasn't sure either. Okay, so yeah, the pandemic for us has been kind of a roller coaster, as I'm sure it has for everybody. But I will say it's been incredible the way that our owner has actually handled the pandemic. So, you know, obviously when we started off, you know, safety was our number one concern. So we were, you know, probably doing what most companies were doing, taking temperatures and, you know, making sure everybody stayed safe. And we have been, from the manufacturing side, in person primarily the entire time. We did try a couple of rotating work schedules where possible, a few remotes. Our Inc. headquarters a lot of our individuals who could go remote went remote for a while. And then we're all, for the most part, we're all back in the office again. We've been so probably, I would say, the last 6 to 8 months for anybody that went remote. But we, put in the restrictions where necessary. We were actually able just to lower those restrictions just recently, which is wonderful. We have done, as far as our product, we switched at one point in time from making our normal product to actually making face shields, because there was a shortage of those. And our owner had us switch the machines over. We made them and then we donated them to the hospitals, because one of the things that we really focus on here, besides helping surgeons treat their patients better, is also helping people treat people better. So we give back to our community a lot in every opportunity that we can. And so that was, I think there was close to 4,000 face shields that we donated to the local hospitals and the school systems and, wherever they were needed when, it first came out with all of the shortages. And then we also have a unique co-op opportunity that I know a lot of companies have had to cancel some of their internships and co-op opportunities. And we've been fortunate enough to continue to do that for our students, face-to-face opportunities, where they actually come out from the supply chain side for a 6-month rotation. And they get to spend that here learning pretty much everything supply chain related. We are an elective surgery is our primary focus. So we did see a little slowdown, but not a whole lot. Now that elective surgeries have started to return to the hospitals, we're seeing our sales start to increase again and bouncing back from that.
Thank you, Melissa. Bill, you are next on my screen. If you need me to repeat the question, I can also do that as well.
No, that's okay. It did really change in our world quite a bit, because we went from some of our predominant call points are surgeons, OR suites, those areas, as hospitals pretty much stopped elective procedures. It really did limit our sales reps' access to the hospital. So we transitioned to our sales teams being more of a hybrid type of role, where part of it was virtual, part of it was access where they could gain it. Like what Melissa described, we did a large donation program. If you saw on Time Magazine or any of the other things, the nurses and physicians that were wearing masks and the sores that they were getting on their face from wearing those masks for 10, 12 hours was very difficult for them. And we have a product that's used to relieve the pressure points on that side, help the healing of that. And we did a pretty significant donation of those products to a number of health systems across the country that were in kind of dire need, because they had overflowing ICUs, nursing staff that was working 10, 12 hours a day, every day, without any breaks, wearing masks and face shields the whole time. So it was nice to kind of take a break of thinking, okay, we're here just to sell something, to know we're actually here to help not only the patients, but also help the caregivers that were part of this process. What we've pivoted to in that case is again, more of a hybrid role for our sales team. Probably about 60% of their time is actually out in the field. The other time is more in a hybrid world, as there are still a lot of limitations by hospital systems and supply chain offices for visitation in that side of being face-to-face. And as I mentioned earlier, we did launch our inside sales team just based on some early success we saw on that virtual opportunity. So that's been a nice uplift of what's happened with COVID, that we figured out how to be creative in the process, still get patients the product they need, and help the caregivers out of it.
Thank you so much. Allison, with the A's, you are next on my screen. I put the question also in the chat so that everyone can see it as well, audience as well.
I have a very short, quick answer, and it would be ditto. I feel like everything that we have heard from Bill and Melissa are the experiences we had at Smith & Nephew. Very, very similar in terms of our approach, having to pivot to manufacture different types of products, having to be thoughtful regarding the fact that we are an elective-based company and that the sales were going to be down. So we had to do some different financial pivoting as a result of that. But throughout the whole pandemic, our CEO was committed to keeping two things, I guess, keeping all of our employees employed. And then the second thing was to the safety of both the employees at Smith and Nephew and to our customers. So that was a big effort for him as well as for our organization. All in all, we're happy that we're hoping to see the end of COVID, fingers crossed, or the almost end, and that we've all of us. I mean, you hear everyone on this line between, you know, Melissa and Lauren and TJ and Bill. It's great organizations to work for. We're here to help people, and that's what we do. Everyone has like a different way of doing that, but if that's the type of work that you want to do, medical device sales it is really a great place for you to do that. And as TJ said, it can be very lucrative even through the pandemic. So so I won't go on for too much longer, but I would echo everything that Melissa and Bill have said.
Thank you so much. Maureen, you are next on my screen.
Well, I don't want to sound redundant and all that, but a lot of similarities there as well. You know, we have a lot of things that are elective surgeries as well, but you know, we do make surgical trays, and so there's still a need. There's still a trauma need. However, you know, we do make orthopedics as well, falls prevention, patient protection, and things of that nature. We did do a lot of shifting to PPE. We did manufacture a lot of PPE and sent that out actually globally because we had global customers that needed that type of protection. So we did some of that as well and sent that to other countries as they need it. As far as work environment, I mean, we, you know, being we are a medical device manufacturer, you know, business kept continuing. We were able to continue business. We just may have fluctuated the way we did business and choose different products and different blend of products. And how can we help and what can we do and how can we impact and make an impact? And of course, the sales team did have to come kind of, you know, not be able to have access. They have started, I mean, over the past year, it has gotten better and they are going in. I mean, we have definitely seen over the last 6 to 8 months, they are back in there and they are doing a lot more installations and conversions and things of that nature, a lot more FaceTime with our customers. Here at corporate, we're back in office, but there's some hybrid things that happen, you know, having an in office day and at home day or whatever it may be, remote, you know, depending on what you have going on for the day. You know, I'm in a customer facing role. I miss meeting people. I mean, that's what I do. And so, you know, employee relations is key in HR. So I like to have a good hybrid of both. The majority of the time I am in office.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And TJ, I know like a lot of everyone on the panel has kind of been having the same sentiment. So if you have the same sentiments, that's okay. But if you have extra to add.
Yeah, I don't. So before the pandemic, I was in a full line sales role. So I was out and about day in and day out. I probably averaged about 1,000 miles a week from a driving standpoint. So when the pandemic hit, it sat me down and forced me to look at my career differently. And I knew that I could lead, you know, like, you know what, if I'm going to take the next step from a career perspective, let me start using some of the tools, because that was initially my fear was, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to run a virtual meeting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to run a virtual conference call. Some of these things that are now second nature to all of us, but that's what I was used to. And the other piece, oh, I don't want to take a significant pay cut. From a career standpoint, what I've noticed is now people that are in sales that thought that they were on an island, they know for a fact you indeed are on an island unless you reach out and stay connected to your peers. Most companies, I would go out on a limb and say, they're not doing national meetings. They're definitely not doing them quarterly. And they're taking that budget and repurposing it due to the different variants that have emerged. So I know that there have been people that I've hired. I've maybe seen them one time in person, and the rest of the time has been all virtual, which is different in this day and age. Most people are used to interviewing in person, and that's changed. So for those of you who are on the call that aren't used to interviewing, imagine interviewing virtually and get used to that, practice that, embrace that, because that's how the business has changed quite a bit.
And I would just add something for TJ, for those of you that are going through the interview process, and probably all of us on here, this panel, who have interviewed people electronically, there is a big difference on kind of the simplest thing is what you think of, where you set the camera, what your background is, all of these things. You see a lot of different variants of that nature. And the ones that I've seen, and probably everybody on the panel has probably seen at Rise of the Crop, have a very good setup on their virtual interview. They've got the right background, they're in the right attire, everything's set up very cleanly, versus somewhere else that doesn't have that background. So I would take that virtual interview very, very seriously about carving out time to be prepared for it, even for what the person's going to see on the other side of the camera for you.
Thank you, Bill. That's some great advice. Yes. Definitely want to make sure you're in a good environment when you're interviewing. Minimal noise, great background, all those are great tips. Thank you. So Michael Jones in the chat has a question. What product categories do entry-level positions mainly focus on at the start of their career in medical sales, specifically for full-time entry-level roles? Bill, since you are here on my screen, I'll let you go ahead and start that question off.
The way we've set up our inside sales team, because that's the entry-level role, it is set up by our chronic division. So we have a number of products that are used in chronic wound care, in wound clinics. It's also set up for our surgical side. So they're making contacts with physicians for our post-operative wound care dressings. And it's also in our ostomy business for people that have calling on wound care, or ostomy nurses and surgeons in that space for ostomy related products. And then the last one is our continence care component, where they're actually calling on urology clinics, both urology nurses and surgeons in that space for catheters. So they are in essence selling the same product line that our outside sales team is selling to. They get the same training that the outside sales team goes to, but it's really based on segmented accounts, maybe a smaller level hospitals versus the large hospitals like Mayo Clinic or something of that nature. They'll be focused more on the smaller hospital market as a starting point for them.
Lauren, you are on my screen next. The question is also in the chat. What product categories do entry-level positions mainly focus on at the Royal within medical sales?
We train you on everything. So our medical device sales professionals sell the whole bag, and it's a big bag. You just have to look at what product mix you have. I know Bill mentioned GPOs. That's a large, contracts is a large bulk of what our sales team, they have to know their book of business. So you kind of learn how to look at that. We, I'm sure a lot of the people on the panel, their companies use Salesforce, so you also know where your business is coming from. So you know where the majority, who's buying what, and what kind of contract, what kind of tier pricing they have, et cetera, et cetera. So we kind of teach you all the things, and we really just kind of submerge you into learning about products, and we do a lot of product demos, and we kind of do a good, the bad, the ugly, just to kind of see, so you can be thinking about what ifs, because things really do happen. I mean, some of our products, they're out walking in space. I see people, I'm an HR professional, but I look at someone wearing an arm sling and they're not wearing it appropriately. I know this. I've been through the training. I know this just from years of, I'm like, they're not getting the full benefit. Sometimes, so you want to make sure you're training them how to show, the best uses and features and benefits of the product, so that the patient reaps the rewards from it, true healing from the product. So we train them on everything.
Thank you, Lauren. Allison, you're next on my screen.
I would say the exact same thing as my colleagues have said. Oh, the only difference is that you will learn products within each of the franchises. So if you start with us in our wound franchise, because our products are so complicated, you would stay within wound and you would have an opportunity to sell one of our products like Pico, which is one of our best-selling products. If you start in sports med, you may have an opportunity to work with Regenitin, which is another product, which is a product in sports med. And then finally, if you're in orthopedics, maybe it's Journey 2, one of our best knees. So you have an opportunity depending on what region is open. You will have a full toolkit like Lauren just talked about. So you'll have lots of products that you can sell, but you will stay within one of the disciplines. Other than that, it's very similar to some of the other answers.
Melissa, you want to jump in on this question?
Sure. So Michael, my answer to your question is going to be a little bit different in that as a person from the manufacturing scheduling side, we actually sell our products to our Inc. division, which is from our side, our one and only customer, and then they get kitted and sold out to our surgeons. So to better answer your question, if you wanted to send me an email, I can actually put you in touch with one of our sales reps to get you more information and help you get the answers that you're searching for.
And Melissa's contact information is in the chat as well. The other panelists, and I'll also at the end pull up a screen where you guys can see all of their emails and contact information as well. Thank you, Melissa. DJ, what product categories are Boston Scientific focused on as far as entry-level positions?
What's interesting is that everybody highlighted things that are all FDA cleared. They're all clinically acceptable, is what I would say. The number one thing that I would highlight, all of these products, if you got involved at Boston Scientific, you'd have the opportunity to sell it. But the number one thing that people forget is we're dealing with people. So what I'm looking for, and that's why I don't necessarily highlight products, I'm looking for people that can motivate and influence people. That's the most important thing that we do. And that's something that we maybe don't teach enough as an industry. And the top sales professionals, they command the highest price. It doesn't matter necessarily the product, as long as it's clinically acceptable. They're going to forge those relationships that allow business to be scalable. But beyond that, they're going to mitigate risk. Why? Because they're there. They're in that room, and that surgeon is going to trust that they're going to get the outcome that they're accustomed to, the outcome that they need. So that's a big thing that I highlight for anyone looking to join my team. How do you influence people, and how do you evaluate yourself? Because with sales, the game is always on. There's not too many times that we rehearse and we practice as sales professionals. Most of the time is we get up and we make a call and we make the sale or we don't. How do we look back at ourselves and really critique, how could I be better? And a lot of it is less about the product. It's more about the people that we're here to help. People that take that approach, I find that they could sell anything. Legitimately, if I had 10 minutes to learn about the different products on here, I could sell it at a very high level because it's about the people.
Thank you, TJ. Riley has a question in the chat. What type of internship professional opportunities would you suggest looking for as an undergraduate student graduating in May 2023? And I'll probably add on to that question as well. What skill sets are you guys looking for within students when you're hiring them for either internships or those full-time entry-level positions?
Internships at Boston Scientific, there are probably over 350 across the gamut of different industries that we have, from finance to sales. What are we looking for? We're looking for people that have demonstrated that they can learn, but then apply it with confidence. My background, sociology. I'll never forget, my dad laughed at me. He said, "What are you going to do with a sociology degree?" And in 2 years, I got a bonus more than he made with a master's and an MBA, multiple degrees. So healthcare, if you really take the right frame of reference, you can come out 21, 22, 23 years old, do very well for yourself, grow, and it makes you a more well-rounded person. And the reason why, you're around people that a lot of them are business owners, and you'll learn lessons that you would never have imagined that you would have learned about just the dynamic of being able to help people and learn from others. So the skill, can you demonstrate that you can learn? And do you have a passion of self-development and improvement?
Lauren, you're next on my screen. And I think I was on, I'm not sure if I was on mute, but the question is also in the chat. What type of professional and internship opportunities would you suggest for students graduating soon, and as well as like what skill sets are helpful for students as far as when they're applying for those internship positions, as well as those entry-level positions?
I'm going to give a very political answer, and it depends. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. You know, we have very, very analytical positions here at DeRoyal. And we can slice and dice analytics any which way, whether it's supply chain, cost, sales, marketing. I mean, so we don't necessarily have a data analytics team, but we have analytics professionals scattered throughout the organization. We have engineering positions, we have IT positions. I mean, so it's very vast. I guess for sales, you know, characteristics, are you coachable? The one thing constant around here is change, and to be able to adapt and flow in that change, and to, you know, we kind of build you up so we can tear you down. It's only a means to prepare you for what's to come, so that it sets you up in the best way possible for future success. And so we kind of, you know, prepare you that well. So if you're coachable and you listen and you intake and you make change and realize that we're telling you something for your benefit and not for your faults, it's more to develop you and have you grow. So, you know, for an internship, I guess it depends on what you're looking to do. If you want sales, if sales is what you're targeting, then I would try to go get it. I mean, whether there's a sales internship per se, or it's just anything in sales, whether it's, you know, retail, or it's the upsell in a restaurant environment, whatever it is, something where you're closing. The thrill of the close is what drives you, and it's like, oh, let's see, well, if I make this suggestion, then what, you know, kind of thing. So you know, kind of set yourself up so that, you know, if you're rejected, how you handle that. Do you turn it around as a challenge, and to be, you know, to be driven? Because what gets you up out of the bed every single day, especially in sales, if you're out there in a territory, you got to have the drive to get up and do what you do. So you got to be driven.
That was a great answer, Lauren. Allison, you're next on my screen.
Great. I would add, we look for people in sales specifically who are resilient, who are humble, and who have passion and are competitive. It really helps if you've competed for that first chair, if you're a saxophonist, or if you've competed on an athletic field. You know what it's like, the drive and the excitement to win, and you also know how to bounce back if you've had losses. And so just to be able to experience that and know how to really deal with that type of sometimes rejection that you may feel in a sales role. In terms of just a summer job, I agree wholeheartedly with Lauren. We just hired someone who talked about upselling, and she was working at the Cheesecake Factory. So she was really into selling and closing the deal. And with COVID times, I think that you'll find employers are very understanding about the types of work that you've done. So if you can apply it to the role that you want, that's what really makes the difference. And so those are the things that I would say for sales. I can't echo enough the importance of just having passion for medical devices. It's something that drives me each and every day to go to work. And even during those tough days, I know that I'm helping someone, and to know that my industry is making a difference in someone's lives helps me to make it through some of those tougher days. So just having passion in what you're doing, and demonstrating that in the interview process, being committed to what you want to do. When I talk to people who are all over the board and they're looking at all different types of roles, it makes me realize that maybe they're not quite ready for medical sales or medical device industry, because you really do have to be committed to it. And so that's the way that I would answer that. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. That was a great answer. And that is something that I also like to stress to students as well. It's really about how you articulate your experiences, not most or like what experiences you have. Of course, those matter, but how you can articulate those things and how you can apply it to the position that you're applying for really does matter. So thank you for saying that as well. And Melissa, you want to jump in on this question as well?
Sure. So we, as everybody mentioned, also have a lot of different opportunities in both professional as well as our internships, whether it's our IT department, our photography and design department, marketing, engineering. I think from my side, the one I'm most passionate about is our co-op opportunity in supply chain. And that's something that you'll often see us at UT recruiting for. And it allows you to come out here to Southwest Florida for 6 months and do a rotation in procurement, international demand, as well as manufacturing scheduling. And so you spend 8 weeks at each rotation, and we pretty much teach you and immerse you in everything that's supply chain related. So if your major is in supply chain and that's something that you're interested in, I would strongly recommend that you definitely apply for that position. It's a paid opportunity, and who doesn't love Southwest Florida, right? Especially this time of year when it's cold up there. So it's a great opportunity. Even if you are graduated, but you're still looking to kind of start your career and you're not really sure what you want to do in supply chain, it's a great opportunity, because when you come out of it, you kind of get to see what you do like about it as well as what you don't like about it. And it can help steer your career in the direction you want it to go. So I would strongly recommend that as an opportunity if you're interested.
One thing, TJ, thank you again, Melissa, for that. One thing TJ added in the chat, how many or how much separates you from the pack. So when you're writing your resume, make sure to include those different things in your bullet points to show the kind of caliber and the person you are and how you executed those different things. Thank you for adding that, TJ. And I know some of you answered this while talking about the last question, but Sierra asks, what majors do you guys look for in applicants? And is it beneficial to have a health major, or does that not matter at all? I know specifically, since this is for sales, does it matter for sales? I know some people are like supply chain. Are you looking for someone who has a supply chain major, or will it matter within the different roles or departments? So I'll let you answer since you're on my screen.
So a supply chain major is of course helpful. However, it doesn't necessarily disqualify you if it's something that you think you might be interested in. We've had students who originally majored in finance and then they were interested in switching their career to supply chain. And so they might not have majored there, but they definitely changed. And when they came out, they benefited from it. And I think they stayed in that career. And given that most of our co-ops that come out, we have a track record of hiring around 40% of them for full-time positions. So even those that might have started with a major in finance and a minor in supply chain, maybe find that supply chain is where they want to be.
Thank you, Melissa. Lauren.
Well, I guess if it's sales, I mean, it could be a wide variety. It doesn't, somebody that has been a biology major or kinesiology major or a business major, we have seen anything and everything in between. It's more of the dynamic of the individual and what they want to do and how they apply themselves and how they establish relationships, how I think TJ talked about that, how they can sell themselves, because a lot of it is rapport building and being able to listen and uncover needs and provide solutions and then go after the business. So, having, it's just basically, there's no kit of what makes a good sales professional. It's just what the person wants to do and how they do it. So.
Bill, you're next on my screen. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I certainly agree with the rest of the panel that certainly there's a area of healthcare that if there's a major tied to that, there's some applicable experience there, but it really is really tied to what have you kind of done during your college career, even during a little bit of your high school career to kind of prepare yourself. Are there jobs you've done that you can articulate in the interview process, how you trained for something, prepared for something, how you succeeded in that? Because we're really looking for people that are driven, that have bounced back. And I think the word used was resilience, that have bounced back from maybe a setback somewhere in their time period and how they responded to that. And then a competitive nature, certainly. I think for our world and an entry-level sales role, that's really the only entry-level role that we operate from here in the US for. We want to see some level of competitive spirit in that space. So I don't think necessarily the specific major works one way or the other as to block someone out. We've seen people we've hired from kinesiology backgrounds to supply chain backgrounds to finance backgrounds to marketing backgrounds. And the background itself by itself doesn't determine their future success. It kind of depends upon that person and their drive and their grit as to how they'll be successful going forward.
Thank you so much, Bill. TJ, would you like to add anything to that as well?
Yeah, I'd echo what Bill highlighted. From a degree standpoint, what I want to know that you finished, because there are a lot of people that start and then there's an excuse why, oh yeah, I switched, and we're looking for specialists in this industry. One of my jobs when I first got into medical device was aesthetic sales. I sold something called Cool Sculpting, which is the FDA cleared fat reduction machine. And you take all the talent, you take all the passion in the world. When you go into somebody's office and they're saying, not today, not today, and you know 95% of the time, that's going to be the answer. I don't care how many degrees or how smart you are, it could take a toll on someone that isn't cut out to want to actually go out and sell and produce results. So the degree component, if you demonstrate that you can learn, you demonstrate that you can apply. In fact, I've seen the most highly compensated sales reps, they're usually C students. All my buddies that are $1 million earners in the medical device space, they don't know what college they went to. They finished, but it's like, what college? And they don't want to talk about that. The reason why is because the grit that it takes to dominate in a specific industry is not degree specific. So no matter what background you guys are in, if you can apply and take as much away from that as you can, you do that same thing and you replicate it in the new opportunity. But what I implore all you to do is focus on how do I relate and interact with people, and start doing research on who some of these CEOs, who some of these leaders of different organizations are. Look at their backgrounds. Not all of them are PhDs. Most of them aren't master's degrees, and some of them, they didn't even get as far as you are right now in college. To answer the one question I just saw come up in the chat, yes, we do have internships at Boston Scientific, over 350.
And I'll let you all, the rest of the panelists answer that as well. And probably if you can give like them a website where they can go to find that information or plug that in the chat, that would be helpful as well too. I'm gonna go to the next question. So what is the biggest misconception about the medical sales industry or just the sales industry in general? Because I know as far as the industry, a lot of students it has piqued their interest, but then there's also still like a big misconception of like what sales is and the opportunities that it could present within that career path. TJ, you're on my screen, so I'll let you answer that question first.
Question, I just want to make sure that I'm hearing it correctly. What's the biggest misconception?
Yes.
That I'm gonna keep it real with everybody on here. Oh, I'm a great interviewer. 99% of the people that I talk to, if I just got the interview and I ask them a simple question, well, who else would tell me that you're great for this role? And they start telling, who at my company have you talked to? And people sometimes have a misconception that as a manager, I would prefer to do stuff like this. I prefer to be on a panel educating people that want to get into the space, that can change their life and they're hungry. They can serve many communities. A lot of people that interview, they think that I want to train them. That's the least thing. I want somebody that's ready to go. I want Michael Jordan. I want Tom Brady. I want to hire that person that can come in and change the face of my business and make me win awards as a regional sales director for hiring the right person. But most people coming in, they think, well, what's the training like? Will you help me? And it's like, yeah, I will, but I prefer to hire somebody that is a little bit more autonomous and can get it done on their own. For entry-level roles, there is an expectation that there is going to be some ongoing development, but that's the biggest misconception that I think, that most people's skill set is not as good as it's not as good as what they really believe it to be.
Okay. Lauren, you are on my screen next.
Exactly sure how, okay. So I have, as an HR professional, let me just say, and I don't know how much interviewing the rest of everyone else does. It sounds like they do quite a bit. Please, if I could give you all any advice, if you are interviewing for a sales position and someone asks you, why sales? Do not say, well, I've been told that I'm good with people, so I should be in sales. And I'm like, well, I mean, lots of people are good with people. I like people, I'm in human resources. So anyway, it's one of those things. It's like, not necessarily a cutout necessarily for sales. So it's hard to know from an interview. And when I'm doing training with a regional sales director and they're new to their role, a lot of times we do promote heavily from within. So they're going from a peer role to now they're managing the people they've been a part of the team with. And so a lot of times they're filling their own territory, which is very, very challenging. They're putting someone else in their shoes. So, to try to get them to establish a good sales professional who can sell products versus someone who can sell themselves, and that's about all they can do. And to be able to establish and know the difference between the two. So I guess for me, I don't know if that was the question and I'm answering it correctly, but that's, if I could give one a bit of advice, to adequately prepare for what you're going to be doing. And I will say this, if you're going for a sales position, be ready to sell something in an interview. It could be an active interview.
That's great advice. Thank you, Lauren. Melissa, what are the biggest misconceptions that you think that students may have about the sales industry or medical sales manufacturing industry as well?
So I guess the medical industry would probably be mine, as far as I think they often get confused with needing quantity over quality. As far as misconceptions go, they come in and they might tell us all of the higher things that they have been able to do, and they list, if I'm looking at a resume, I want to see what you've done, but I don't need 101 details on how you did it. I want the high bullet points. What did you do while you were in that position? What did you do for that internship that made a difference for that company? How did you help them? How did you improve their way of business? So for me, I think if you get a resume that has a lot of, the detail, but it really doesn't actually sell you as the person in the interview, it can be rather challenging to find out who you are as a person. I don't know if that helps. I don't really deal with sales, so it's a little challenging for me to answer that question.
Great. Thank you. And Bill,
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of added points. I kind of laugh with Lauren's message because we've all heard, well, people said I'm good with people, so I should be in sales. No one ever goes into a finance interview says, I'm not good with people, so I should be in finance. So think about the things that you say in the interview process. I think because of understanding the customer base in medical sales, it's physicians, it's nurses, it's people that have made their living about caring for patients and helping patients. They've taken an oath to do that. So I think Allison said it, there needs to be some research done on your part and be able to convey why you can impact that, why you can help patients in that space based on your drive, your expertise, and what you can learn and what you can bring to the table. I think that's many times lost on the fact they think medical sales, that's a great career, but they forget maybe about what you're doing every single day when you're calling on a nurse who's just dealt with a full ward of patients and challenging patients. What is it you can help bring to her that's going to make her life better by helping the patients that she's treating on that ward? So I think there's a plan for that sometimes salespeople will look at as not necessarily a high level role, but you have a greater impact on patient care than a lot of other roles out that you could graduate with or get out in the job market. You can directly impact patient care and in the outcome for patients, which is important because a lot of our products that we all discussed here really do change patients' lives for the better.
And TJ also added in the chat, talk to people in the industry and specifically at the company you are interviewing for. Brownie points if you can get referred to the position by someone at the organization. So thank you. I'm going to open up the floor again for students. If you want to raise your hand and unmute and ask a question before I go on to the last question of the day, and then give out all our panelists contact information so you can get in touch with them, and as well as just chat with them about opportunities and things like that. So feel free to raise your hand or unmute or put in the chat as well, opening up the floor to questions.
This is a great opportunity to ask that question that you would ask in an interview. And it's a safe space to where you'll learn a lesson. I'll just share with you guys, because maybe some of the stuff that I said was intimidating and it was meant to be real world. I once thought that I had never interviewed or never heard about medical device, but I go back, I had heard about medical device. I was a junior at Northwestern and I went in, I wasn't prepared, and it went so poorly, I blocked it out of my memory. Until years later, I interviewed with Stryker, I ended up getting the job. And they're like, it's rare that somebody interviews with us and then they interview again and get the job. And I couldn't remember the fact that I had an interview. I went back through my Gmail and I'm like, yeah, that's right. I blocked it out. So some of this process, and that's why I highlighted, talk to people in the organization, they can give you a lot of the answers to the test so that you're a little bit more confident and you have a little bit more peace of mind of what to expect. Because I look at it like I looked at sports. If I trained for the NFL Combine, but I didn't know what I was training for, how could I expect to have numbers that were off the chart?
I think Olivia, you see your hand up?
Hi. So I've worked in a pharmacy for about 4 years now, and I've seen so many sales representatives come in, call, and try to get us to do business with them. And our manager is always like, oh, we're happy with the manufacturer or the wholesaler we have now. That's something you all face a lot, and how do you combat that?
I would say every day, our salespeople are indifference and change is something that most customers would rather not go through. So it's really about how can someone convey, I think it was talked about earlier, about a challenge that customer has or that industry has, and how you have a solution for that, not a product for it, but a solution for it that can create a better outcome for them. So in a case of a pharmacy, there's certainly many opportunities there to improve service or patient responses or patient engagement for a pharmacy, because they're dealing with patients all day long. In a case like that, it sounds like, it's easy to take that reply of like, oh, we're good, we're fine. But if someone comes in with a message that is solving a challenge that they're having, that's probably going to spark up that potential customer to listen to what you have to offer and the solution you have, not the product, but the solution.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
Did any other panelists want to jump in on Olivia's question or to the next student's question?
What I would share is that most people don't want to be sold, but they do want to buy. So in any scenario, you can think about a car that you wanted to buy. You walk into that dealership. The unique thing is that salesperson knows that you're coming in there. You at least have some interest in test driving a car or seeing a car. But in somebody's everyday business, we're asking sales professionals to come in there and disrupt their day. And if we disrupt their day and we lead with a product, I would kick myself out at that point. We need to be able to bring some value, give them some market and industry knowledge, and then give them the opportunity to opt in to whatever it is that we're offering. Most hiring managers and most of our customers make a buy-in decision within 2 to 6 seconds. And anybody that works in HR, they don't spend 10 minutes looking at your resume. In fact, they're going to check. It's usually under 7 seconds to where they put it to the pile to throw it away or put it to the pile to advance. So a lot of our approach and what you highlighted in the pharmacy is due to people being weak from a sales perspective. They're leading with what's their issue, that they need to sell a product. If they came at that physician or at that pharmacist the right way, I'm confident that they would take a step back and say, oh yeah, could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Thank you, TJ. And we have a question from Sierra.
Hey, so I am really interested in like the commission side of it, because where your hard work gets rewarded, and if you're really driven, then it shows up, like it's rewarded. So I was wondering if the entry level positions at all of y'all's companies, are those commission based, or do you have to work your way up to a position where you would be like that?
Yeah, I can certainly speak from the Convatec side. There's a base salary component for the entry level role, but there's also a significant portion of that total target income that is based upon their sales performance, i.e. the commission or the percentage to quota that they achieve. So with most sales related roles, that's going to be a very heavy weighting. And for those sales related roles that tend to pay a higher value, it's going to be an even higher value on that sales commission or quota attainment type of role, because that way the true high performers that bring value to the company get rewarded for that high level of performance.
Same for us. I mean, we offer a blend. I mean, obviously there is a base, but then there's a commission. And you do, when you obtain your territory, it is structured that way. And the more successful you are, but also our products are in line with what makes the biggest margin for the company, also incentivizes the sales reps. They make more in commission on those as well. So, and then the higher you achieve, the more you earn. So it just kind of builds from there.
In Michael's question, what percentage of the time are you looking for new prospects to do business with versus staying in contact with current customers that you already have?
I'll speak in that side. I think from our side, there's two rules of thumb there is you've got existing customers. You can never afford to lose an existing customer to a competitor. So there, you've got to continually, so to speak, convince that customer they're making the right decision, that your solution is the best one for them so that they don't open up to the competition on that side. But the best way to actually grow sales is going to be truly with new customers, the people that you can convince to stop using a competitive product and start using your product for a better outcome on that side. And then you have to continually convince that customer that they made the right decision. Customers that feel ignored or underappreciated by their supplier or their salesperson that are interacting with them are primed to be lost in that space. And it is next to impossible to regain someone where you had their business and then you lose their business. It is a very long road to regain their trust and their business back.
I would second that because we do have such a vast array of product blend to sell, to know where your business lies, what you have and what you don't, so that if something becomes vulnerable, and you have that relationship established, that you can go get the business so you can build it. So just to be knowledgeable and to listen and to be available and, be able to provide a solution to a problem. That's how you earn the business and you can build it from there.
Most vendors realize that if you can solve a problem, that relationship gets stronger. And I've learned this having luxury vehicles. The reason why they love to give you coffee and a brownie and pat you on the back when you bring your car in for what's called a free car wash is because they want something to break down. They want to say, oh, looks like you're due for an oil change. And you get used to that level of service. Oh, guess what? This part went out. You're under warranty. We're going to take care of you. Now, why do they do that? When it's time for you to upgrade your car, they're hoping that they can keep you because to acquire you, they may have given you a discount on the vehicle up front. But what did they really want? They wanted the financing. That's where they make their money. And in medical devices, no different. If I spent my time always trying to bring on new customers, I would actually cut into my profitability because I wouldn't be able to serve the people that have made my business grow to where it is. And what I put in the chat, if I really become strong with the customers that I'm serving, they will sell for me. They will talk to their buddies and say, oh, work with TJ, use his medical device. There's another question about commission. The best job that I ever had was 100% commission because I knew what my time was worth. Boston Scientific is a pretty good job, but it's a diminishing return because I'm salary and it's sort of a fixed, the fixed compensation. So as you think about sales, that's really what you want to look at. How do you increase the value of your time by doing the revenue generating activities? If you spent 100% of your time looking for new customers, you've got a hole in your bucket. You also want to be able to make sure you're serving some of those customers and getting residual and what they call mailbox money.
Melissa, did you want to add in on the manufacturing and scheduling side?
I'm not really sure that I could actually add the details that might be looked for that haven't been covered, because from our side, we're satisfying our customers' demand as opposed to going out to get the sales. So we need to make sure that those sales get met that are sent in from our sales reps and make sure that the product is in hand when they need it. And that when the surgeons, looking at the products in the operating room, one of the things I can say that I have heard our owner say is, you need confidence in your product and confidence that what you're providing is going to be the solution for that surgeon, because if you don't have that, then there's somebody else standing beside you ready and willing to show that surgeon how their product can complete that need for them instead. So I think you need the confidence in your product if you're going to sell it.
What happens if your product isn't there? If there was a delay, let's say Puerto Rico plants down, could you speak to that a little bit?
So yeah, again, if your customer is looking for that product, and especially if it's an elective surgery, they have a surgery scheduled with a patient waiting to come in. And if you don't have that surgery, that product when they want it, then you have to push out that surgery date, which again, that's going to leave a bad taste in your surgeon's mouth for your product. They're going to look someplace else for somebody that can deliver when they need their product and when they want their product. So absolutely, that's from our side, that's a prime goal, is to make sure we don't have any back orders at all, that they always have their product when they want it.
That was a loaded question. We had a back order when I was at Stryker, and I actually ended up doing far better because I got out ahead of the problem and told, hey, there's an issue in Puerto Rico. It looks like 3 weeks from now, we're going to be short on inventory. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to order triple the inventory right now. And 3 weeks from now, we'll need to put in triple the inventory, and that will make sure that we don't hit below certain par levels. And believe it or not, I ended up selling far more because we had a problem. I communicated it, and the customer, they didn't want to be without the product. So sometimes the people aspect of healthcare is more lucrative than actually being as dependable as what most companies are.
Absolutely, that's a good point. I will say from a supply chain side though, you are that sales rep that would drive us crazy, because we have our set forecast. We know how many we need to make. We're on the manufacturing side, driving forward, trying to make it, scheduling the hours from the manufacturing side. And then you go and upsell, which is great for business, but bad for manufacturing scheduling, because now we have to figure out how to make that product for you so that you can actually complete the sale that you have promised. So
I had bills. Hey. I had too many luxury vehicles. I had to figure it out.
Thank you all. So that was the last question. Again, I'll open it up to students if they have more questions. But I wanted to plug the contact information for all the panelists. I know Allison also had to jump off, so her email is there. So feel free to email if you have any extra questions that you want to ask, maybe that you didn't get a chance to ask within the panel today. Also, I dropped the student survey for students to take at the end. So make sure you just log into that link that I dropped in the chat and also put in the Connect ID to fill out that survey. So I'll open it up again to questions, but wanted to plug contact info and then also the student survey. So we have a couple more minutes. So opening up the floor again.
And Courtney, if I can just add for a moment while we're waiting for the students to chime in, for those of you that are participating in this, being from supply chain, not necessarily having all the sales questions to be able to provide the right answers for you. If you are interested in additional information from the sales side of Arthrex, please reach out to me directly and I will put you in contact with somebody that can help you get the answers that you're looking for. I can certainly help you if you're majoring in supply chain and looking for answers for that though.
All right. I just want to thank all of our panelists for coming and speaking with our students today. I know they got some great insight. I know I got some great insight as well, just from being within the career services perspective to tell students who I meet with about these different industries, the employers, and just things to look out for. So you guys gave great advice. So I thank you guys for taking the time out to speak with our students. And again, everyone, if you want to reach out, their contact information is in the chat, and I'll be sending it out as well to everyone who attended. So you can have that information as well too.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Best of luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your week.